My name is Georgia. I'm a senior graduating come May, and I just recently finished an internship with Alma Weddings, which is a wedding planning company locally here in Columbia, South Carolina. To begin my internship search, I utilized various resources provided by my college, which was online job boards, career fairs, networking events. I also reached out to professors, career center advisors, and alumni to gather information on potential internship opportunities. One of the most challenging parts of the process was narrowing down my search and deciding which internships I wanted to apply for. With so many options available, it was difficult to determine which opportunities aligned with my interests and career goals. I spent a considerable amount of time researching each company, reviewing job descriptions, interviewing with these companies, and seeking advice from mentors to help me make an informed decision. At the end of the day, I found that Alma was the best fit for me, and I've been working there for a year now, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. One of the things that I wish I'd known earlier in the process was how challenging the application process might be. Many companies required a lengthy application, cover letter, resume, which required a significant amount of time and effort to complete. Additionally, some companies added an extra layer of complexity to the application process, which was quizzes or online formatting, or even just like real life work that you'd be doing and seeing how you might handle those situations. But overall, the process of searching for an internship was both challenging and rewarding. It allowed me to develop valuable skills in research, networking, and communication. It also provided me with the opportunity to gain hands-on experience in my chosen field, which would undoubtedly benefit me in my future career. Another thing that I found quite interesting that I didn't realize was that it's not all as serious as you think it might be. It's an internship, it's a learning opportunity. Most likely you haven't had a career like this or an opportunity like this before, so people understand that you still are learning and that you still have the opportunity to really perfect these skills and work on these skills if you're struggling with them. So if you don't feel confident in your ability to interview, network, or do any of these things, just trust that come time, you'll get there. As a student who transferred from biology to fashion merchandising, I definitely understand the appeal of wanting to work in fashion or wanting to work in an area where you really have a hobby but don't know how to make it into a career passion. After several years and courses throughout the fashion merchandising industry and working with Alma Weddings and working as a retail salesperson, I realized that it's not as glorified as it is if you don't put in the work. I think some advice for future students that are kind of going through this transition is to really understand that having a job isn't necessarily what your career is going to be, and that putting in that work is what is going to get you to where you want to be. Another reality I found to be was that these jobs aren't necessarily working in merchandising stores, working with fashion designers, making clothes, styling stuff. As much as that is part of the retail fashion merchandising industry, a big part of it is sourcing, buying, and actually incorporating yourself into the merchandising and management part of the business. I personally didn't really know many of those things going into it, but then once I learned about it, I think I kind of geared my interest more towards that. A lot of things tie into being a retailer and being a buyer, and I think those things just kind of get overlooked when you're incoming into the retail field. But a big thing that you can do as a student is really open up your options and take the time to really learn about these other career opportunities and just give them the full chance, because most likely as a retail student with a retail degree, you might end up in one of those jobs at one point. So to really understand the metrics of it is super important. However, I do think the most important thing to know about wanting to reach your dream job and like fulfilling that fantasy is that you really can get there if you put in the work. If you're very intentional with the things that you do, if you're very thoughtful about your academics, your networking, your communication with businesses, to really create a brand for yourself and a name for yourself, and just really encourage yourself to move forward with these things that you really want to do. When I first started retailing, I kind of wanted to go into the event planning area, and I just found that. I ended up applying for wedding retailers, I ended up applying for bridesmaid industries, and now I'm working a future job in an event planning industry. So I do think that it is possible if you really want to accomplish these things. I do think that you have to put in a lot of hard work for it, and I also believe that if you really want it, then you will get it. As an event planning intern for Alma Weddings, my responsibilities got divided into two categories: the virtual aspect and the in-person aspect. For virtual, we had a lot of social responsibilities, but on top of that, we had a lot of work responsibilities as well. For work, that mostly looked like inquiring new brides that want to book us, responding to emails about future brides, current brides, making sure that they're getting attested to, working with vendors, and that was a big one, making sure that the photographers feel very aligned, that we're making sure the caterers know when to show up, kind of creating these timelines and really a lot of like visual aspects and written aspects that really tie into the wedding day. A lot of people think that the planning isn't as big as the wedding, but honestly it might even be a bigger part, because if you don't plan for it, then the wedding day might become a disaster. Something that I found very interesting is how intricate and detailed my boss makes her timelines, and I think at the end of the day, this is why we have such seamless weddings. For the social media aspect, this may look like posting on Instagram, making sure that the feed aligns with the brand image, and making sure that we're really portraying the personality and characteristics that Alma is. My bosses have a lot of character and personality and are very fun and bubbly, and I think that they really expect us as interns to mirror that when we take over the Instagram. We also post stories, highlights, album galleries, all these things that really just prevent vendor love and really show what the wedding industry and especially the Columbia Wedding Network can be like. As for the in-person aspect, what this looked like for us was at the beginning of every week, we would have a weekly meeting with my 2 bosses and all of the interns and just coordinate what we would be doing for the wedding that following weekend. A lot of the stuff that we did here was just coordinate who would be on social media for the week, who would be posting the stories for the week, who would be reaching out to the vendors for the week, the album galleries, which in turn would be completing that. And it was just a lot of coordination and also just a chance for us to kind of like get on the same page. And then as for the weekend of the wedding day, these tended to be about 12 to 14 hour days. What this looked like was we would arrive before the bride gets there and we would leave after the whole bridal party and all the ceremonies are done. We would start with kind of setting up all the chairs, tables. If the catering service or rental service didn't do that for us, then we would just kind of like check in with the bride, make sure that the makeup artist, the photographer would all get set up. We would set the photographer up with the detail shots. We would set the band up on the stage where they needed to be. We would set the caterers in the kitchen where they needed to start preparing stuff, and then just kind of guide everyone, make sure like everything is moving very fluidly. Towards the middle of the day, when the ceremony started, we were making sure that the guests are getting seated to the right areas, that they're being ushered to their seats. Then it would result in more of the ceremony starting, make sure the bride knows what she's doing, make sure that the bridal party knows that they're handling this correctly, that they're walking at the right time, that the music is playing correctly, knowing that the DJ is going to be doing all the right stuff at the right time. And it sounds very quick and very complicated, and at the end of the day, it is very quick and very complicated. You have to be very fast-paced, very quick on your feet, very in the know with what's going on, and be able to manage multiple things at once, right? You're intentionally the liaison between all the vendors and the bride, and making sure that all of it works fluidly and making sure that everything is really happening the way it needs to happen. After the reception and the ceremony, it kind of slows down a little bit for us. We get more of a little bit of downtime, but still we have to be making sure that all the guests are being catered to, checking in with them, checking in with the bride, making sure she's being fed, the groom making sure he's getting his food and drinks as well, making sure speeches are going well, and all of those things that you would traditionally think about going wrong in a wedding day, we're making sure that they're going right. So that's about it. The best aspect of the work that I did was creating relationships with the vendors, with my bosses, and with the interns that I worked with. These relationships actually ended up kind of carrying on into like more of a personal relationship along with the business aspect. My bosses have been really good role models for networking with your friends and really creating these relationships with these vendors that allow wedding days to become really seamless. I now have a big network of photographers that I really admire and love to work with and love to view their work. My bosses and my interns text me on the regular, just kind of seeing what I'm up to aside from work stuff. I think really having these bonds and relationships allows you to really work fluidly with the people that you're with and have a healthy work environment. I think one of the most important things about working is having that healthy work environment, so knowing that I'm surrounded with such inspiring people who really do the best work that they can do and really rely on one another is one of the most beautiful things about working in the wedding planning industry. Another thing that I really admire is being able to create this day and create this vision for this bride and groom who really are having this once in a lifetime moment, and knowing that you're such a big part of this special day, and knowing that you're creating this like love and intention and just this beautiful moment that you helped create. And I think that honestly is super rewarding and super fulfilling as someone that really wants to do this full time eventually. I'm definitely interested in working this type of job in the near future. I'm actually graduating in about a couple weeks, so I have been looking for jobs, and I just accepted a job as an event planner for a company called Accenture in DC. This is a great way to get my foot in the door for something bigger. I think eventually I would want to start kind of networking with event planners and wedding planners in the area and see if I can just kind of do that part-time. I've always just had this little knack for events and organization and planning and things like that, so I really see it kind of following me and me not following it. I really believe that it is something that I could be good at, it is something that I could be successful at, and after getting a taste for what it could really be like after completing this internship, I think that this is one of the best opportunities for me and one of the best ways for me to feel fulfilled in my future work. I really appreciated all my time in this course, and I really appreciated everything I learned from AMWA as a wedding planner, and I'm super glad for this opportunity and hope that I get to continue it.